How's it going, everybody? Kurt here with Aerosport Concepts. Today we're going to show you a new video we have of installing our brand new tow hooks with our bracket that attaches to the crash rail. We have a couple versions here. This one's going to be the 14-15 video that we're going to show, and soon we'll have the 10 through 13 video coming here in the next couple weeks. So the tow hook's going to come pre-assembled. You're going to disassemble it just by unscrewing it from the bracket. Also take out the set screw, and we're going to make a paper template of what this bracket is. Okay, so this paper template is going to be our set points for our screws. All you need is a small piece of paper that's a little bit bigger than the bracket. Lay it over that, kind of form it to the piece. Okay, find your centers of your holes. And then I trace along the edge with the pencil. And then you're going to cut this out. And you'll end up with a piece that looks like this. This is what we're going to use to set our holes when we go to screw it to the bumper. So on a 14-15, the factory has a little door here. This is for when they ship the car overseas. This is a tie down point for the car when it's on the ship. Anyway, we take this door off with a little tool. You get it wedged in here and clip this off, and then that's where we're going to locate our hole. Okay, so we just get this tool in there, pop the door, and then we're going to locate our hole basically right on the seam of this crash rail right here. I'll go over that here in a second. Okay, so what we've done is we got a clear shot to the crash rail, and we centered a mark here on the seam of the crash rail, if you could see that. And that's where we're going to drill our holes when we take off the bumper here in the next step. So this is a pre-marking of where our hole is going to go, and then we'll take off the whole entire front bumper assembly to install the bracket. Okay, so what we're going to do is take off the front bumper assembly. And the easiest way to do that is to remove the tire and get this inner fender liner up and out of the way. This creates issues trying to get to the bolts that are up here holding the bumper. So take out these torque screws here that hold the fender liner on. There's 3 of them along the edge here, the front edge. And then along with these 3 screws, we're going to take out the fasteners that hold the fender liner in. There's one here on the back edge. You just pop that and it will come out. There's one up above here. Take that one out. There's a third one over here. And that's enough to let it drop down. This is going to allow it to break free once we undo the screws down here on the bottom. Alright, so on the front edge of the bumper, where the liner meets the bumper edge, there's 3 7mm hex screws here that you take out. And that's on both sides. Okay, and then along the top of the bumper here, try to be gentle with these so you don't scratch up anything. First, undo the top piece and then take the bottom piece out. You want a really flat fastener tool here to do this. That way you can slip in the starter seam that they give you. That's what I mean by having it be flat. So you take those along the top edge here out. And then the last thing that kind of holds on the bumper are these two 10mm here, and then two on the bottom of the bumper. Okay, so we got everything kind of unfastened. Now we're just going to draw this fender liner down so we get to the screws back here, or sorry, the bolts back here. So pull the fender liner down, and now we have the 3 screw or bolts along this front edge, and then there's one up here by the light that we'll take out. So that frees up the corner there once we take this little set screw out. So you take the 7mm out here. So 2 on the bottom are 10mm. There's holes that are attached to the chassis here. So these are the last 2 that you take out. Both corner ones. I kind of leave them just hand tight in there. And then now we're ready to take out the bumper. There is one last pass. And there's back up in this corner. You got to unplug the wire harness, which is this clip right here. So trick of undoing the light here is this little gray tab. You slip it out forward, get it unlocked, and then now you could pinch the piece and wiggle it unloose. Unless you slide this gray little lock ring forward, you won't be able to pinch it. Okay, so last little step is undo the 2 bolts we left in there by hand. Find a pocket. I like shirts with pockets just for that. And then wiggle this off. If you got everything undone right. Should slide right off. Okay, so going back to that paper template we made in the very beginning, I'm just going to mark the center of this. And then that's our center point of our main hole marked onto our earlier mark before we took the bumper off. I'm going to center those 2 on there and center that on the seam line, and then mark my hole, and then this is my pilot hole for the set. So those are my 2 holes I'm going to drill. Alright, so the 2 holes we're going to drill is a 1/4 inch hole here for the set screw, and then 11/16 hole here. I'm going to use a multi-paper bit. They just cut the best. Okay, so we drilled our 2 holes, 11/16 and a 1/4. That gives us a little wiggle room when we put this bar behind the crash rail. So the crash rail has basically a hollow point here in the back. We slip that bar in the same way that we line this up until you get the threads to line up here in the front. Put your set screw in. So last thing we do is just do a quick test fit, make sure our threads are in here right. You can make one final adjustment if you need to. And it looks like we might need to here. So I'm going to loosen this back up just a hair. Get this screwed back in. it all the way in, and then do one last tighten of your set screw. That way we know that works. Okay, so we got our bracket in, so now we're going to reassemble, putting the bumper back on. There's guiding tongues right there at the front bumper that help you guide it. Once you slip it on, take those pocket screws, put them back in. These hold the bumper in place while you get all the other fasteners back in. This makes it pretty much a one-man show. So now we'll go back through, put all the clips back in, all the screws back in, fenders, liners back in, and you can see the tow hook now has its receiver installed in the hole. Okay, so our final step, now that we got our receiver in here, and you can see our set screws in there too, kind of holding the receiver block into the crash rail. Last thing we're going to do is put in the tow hook. Now, we made our tow hook set up. Once you get it on the car, you take a wrench onto the flat edges of the shaft here, get it tightened to where you need it once it bottoms out. And then this is a jam nut. You can take this jam nut and turn this to any direction that you need it, and then just lock that down one final time, and then your tow hook's in there. Nice, really clean setup, super strong. And that's our 1415 front tow hook receiver installation.